You know, the Kenyan government is meant to keep its citizens safe at home and abroad. Today I'm diving into that. Now, recent times we've seen a lot of calls, pushes for Kenyans to apply for jobs abroad. Almost like there's a secret quota for how many Kenyans need to be abroad. It's almost like we're too many, you know. In the same time frame, and from the 90s actually, we have seen the cases of Kenyans abroad, mostly domestic workers enduring a lot of suffering, humiliation, torture, starvation, and in extreme cases, killings. The calls for justice have rendered many throats dry, but they almost always fall on deaf ears. There'll always be statements from the Ministry of Labor and that of Foreign Affairs making vague promises on investigations or promising to look into things, and sometimes just outright silence. This neglect of Kenyan citizens abroad, however, took things to an even higher level. The abduction and torture of Boniface Mwangi alongside Uganda's Agatha Atuhaire. It took 3 days and massive public pressure for the Ministry of Diaspora Affairs to issue a statement asking Tanzanian authorities to expeditiously and without delay facilitate consular access to or release Mr. Mwangi, noting that they had been denied access. Today, it is now 27 days since Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo were abducted, reportedly, in Kireka near Kampala, Uganda. So far, all we know of the efforts being made to find them are two things. One, there was a communication from the Principal Secretary for Foreign Affairs, Korir Sing'oei, stating that Kenya's High Commission in Kampala has sought assistance in liaising with Ugandan authorities to find the missing men. Not they're liaising yet. They are seeking assistance in liaising with Ugandan authorities. That was on October 3rd. Two, Interior CS Kipchumba Murkomen has said that the matter is being handled diplomatically and that it is the duty of the government in Kenya to protect its citizens in any part of the world. These men have been missing for 27 days on a neighbor's soil, and that's all we have to show for it. So keeping Kenyan citizens safe at home and abroad, miss me with that.
Ooh.
Let me...
Nimekusikia. Good points that you raised. And I mean, and you've just given us recent examples, not even...
I didn't even go to...
historical, just recent examples of what has happened with Kenyans in distress. Kenyans in distress, whether working, they have left this country, they've gone, they found themselves in, distressing situations in other countries. And the time it takes for the Kenyan authorities to actually securely bring them back home or offer support, the amount of noise that has to be made before we see word from the Kenyan government on what's going on, or even an acknowledgement. And even if the government would say that we have done or we do, from what I'm hearing you saying, which I agree with, is it comes a little bit too little, too late in many instances, and in some cases, it's like they are being forced to do it.
Yes.
They just do not want to. They would have preferred not to do it, but sasa mmepiga kelele. Wacha basi tuulize wa Tanzania, copy Boniface Mwangi.
After 3 days of silence.
Mmepiga kelele. Sasa awa kina Oyo na Bob Njagi, we are asking about them. And actually yesterday, civil society groups addressed the media in Nairobi and also raised concern and sought to take a petition to the National Assembly and the Senate on the fate of Bob Njagi and Boniface Oyo. And were saying, our government does not seem to be responding to this. Let's listen to the activists as they spoke yesterday to gain more insights into what they were saying.
The least we can ask for is proof of life. We are under no illusion, about who is holding them. Yes, we tried the courts, and my brother will speak to that, but everyone knows that Nicholas Oyo and Bob Njagi is being held by the Ugandan government.
The judge in the ruling held that the two, the police and the Ugandan military, have proven before this court and have sworn affidavits to indicate that they do not have them in their custody, despite having conducted several searches within all police stations and military camps in Uganda. Now, you do not need to be a rocket scientist to read out and see that that finding is a pure error in law. It is one that was given either under coercion or under the rule and control of those in power.
We want the Kenyan government to stand out and just give a proof that these two are alive as we continue pushing and agitating for their immediate release.
And before this, the media had actually spoken to Bob Jage's father. And he was also just talking the same distress. I don't know the whereabouts of my son. I don't know what's going on. I have not heard any word from the government of Kenya, from the government of Uganda, of course. I don't even have links with the government of Uganda. And this is the issue, that at the very least, the government should be engaging with the families to at least show that we are doing something about it, and this is what we are doing, and we'll keep you updated. Now, when Bob Jage's family, spouse and children don't have direct communication from the government, when Boniface Mwangi's wife did not have communication from the government, it makes you just say this government was not handling this matter.
At all. And we'll go into different use cases. Do we have the bite of Bob Njagi's father, actually? Maybe you can play it in a little bit.
Not at present.
But we'll play it in a little bit, hopefully. The fact that it's often families that will start the conversation, that's okay. You report a missing person, you go to your nearest police station. Or, you go to the Ministry of, this is now an international issue, you go either to the Interior Ministry or to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. My person is in country X, they have gone missing. What next? The next thing you'll often see is public outcry, especially online. And the fact that it has to get to that, as opposed to the family feeling safe that the ministry is looking for my wife, my daughter, my son, my husband, my brother, that they are doing everything they can. They're turning the world upside down. I'll give a few examples of, and you said I used the most recent ones, because Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo have been missing for 27 days now, and it's incredibly worrying. But think of all the domestic workers that have gone to the Gulf region, and it seems that we abandoned them to meet a quota. Like I said, it's how many people can we fly out? How many dollars can we get in foreign exchange? So a report by Amnesty International documented that more than 70 Kenyan women in Saudi Arabia were deceived by recruitment agents. For example, they were being promised jobs as beauticians and ended up as domestic workers under exploitative and inhumane conditions. They were unpaid for long periods, their passports were confiscated, they were denied rest, and the terms of their contracts were changed on arrival, right? Again, we still see, we have what? The national, I'm forgetting the name of the National Employment Authority.
Now.
Yes. That does have licensed employment agencies. However, what are we doing from a bilateral point of view to ensure that Kenyans are safe? Because the Gulf countries also hold a lot of other foreign nationals. The Philippines, for example, have a lot of nationals in the Gulf countries, in the UAE, in Saudi Arabia, but you will not hear them going through the same things that Kenyans are going through, because their countries are making very, very intentional steps to protect them. The Guardian found that Kenyan single mothers in Saudi Arabia whose children were born outside marriage were denied exit visas, effectively trapping them abroad with minimal state support. So you go to Saudi Arabia, you either get into a relationship with someone, or worst case scenario, you may be raped. Who knows what happens here? But you are a single parent. Now you don't have an exit visa. You're in limbo. There was the case of Stephen Munyaho, you remember? Abdul Karim, who spent 13 years on death row in Saudi Arabia for workplace altercation. The fact that it was the public outcry that eventually led to him returning home. That was best case scenario. But I think if Kenyans were not like, let's get our boy back home. How much did you say the fine is?
Concerted effort by family, by friends. Just always constantly knocking at the door of the foreign ministry. and the embassy in Riyadh.
Yes.
You know, to just do this. So the thing is, how much work does one have to do to secure the release of their loved one who may have been lured, duped, or gone somewhere and they, you know, something bad happened to them? How much work needs to be done? How much trust do you need to build so that any Kenyan living in this country can feel comfortable registering with our mission abroad? Because I know that in the event I'm in distress, they will pick me up, minimum questions asked, first thing is secure me.
Right.
And then let's deal with the others later.
Yeah.
Because the feeling is, because it's government, ulikuja hapa, alikulete, na huko unajua wewe hiyo, you know?
Yeah.
So you feel, hey, I'm not going to register with the government because I'm going to be exposing myself.
Yeah.
Granted,
then,
there are many people
Then the government doesn't know.
So the government doesn't know that you're there.
Yeah.
And so there's distress. Now the government starts hearing from about you from a family member. It started with the fact that you don't have a good reputation as government that made this person register with you when they were leaving the country.
Yeah.
I'm looking at this statement yesterday by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs on the situation of our soldiers in Russia who are involved in military activities in Russia. I remember we were sampling this story yesterday, done by Ngena Kirori the day before yesterday, and she spoke to two people. One has come back into the country.
Yeah.
They've been facilitated to come back into the country. The other one is seeking help to come back to the country. In fact, let's first listen to those two. One is in the country and the other one is coming back, is asking to be repatriated. None of them give their actual name. No, we know their names, but we're not using their real names in this particular story. So let's just listen to them.
Nikuja mahali nimejua ni legitimate, kama ni salary yako ikusaidia kufanya kitu. But kwenda kununua kuku na pesa ya hongo. Ukiona wale wanalalamika, ni mtu mwenye hajawahi kuwa na background ya military ama ya polisi ama paramilitary.
We were informed that we were going to work at like military camps, but not as military, servicemen. We was like subordinates, helping inside the camp, like drivers, in the kitchen. Immediately we got there and interacted with some of the Kenyans. That's when we knew, like, okay, honestly, there's no other job from here because it's a process. The others who have gone through the same process we are going through, and none has been given, like the jobs you guys were promised. It's a front line. You have to go to the war front. I have no experience in military at all. I've never held a gun, fired a gun. So psychologically that was a bit disturbing. The second week is when I was going to be deployed, and that's when we had planned to actually contact the embassy and run away. But once we got to Russia, we got to find out everything was covered by the Russian side. So it was like a scam, I'd say.
In those two cases, so the gentleman who is speaking last year, he's come back home and he's saying he was duped into the kind of job that he was going for.
Yeah.
So he gets in there, he has no military experience, none, not even ever fired a gun. And he goes there and he's told the job actually is a frontline job.
Yeah.
The second one, the earlier person who spoke, Alex, who was speaking on the phone, is basically saying he's there and he has a bit of that kind of training. So he's doing that job, and he's saying many of the people that you're hearing complaining are people who didn't have any kind of experience, and they didn't know what kind of job they were getting into. As far as I'm concerned, I'd rather have this kind of work that I'm doing and I'm able to meet my bills than go back and do kazi ya hongo, back home. Now to the statement by the government on Russia. They say the government is taking note of media reports of Kenyans who are caught up in the Russia-Ukraine conflict and takes this opportunity to update its citizens and the world on the action that the government is taking. Through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the government has constructively engaged with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Russian Federation in a bid to secure the release of the Kenyan citizens in distress. The government has been seized of this matter and for several months has been pursuing it. Kenyan and Russian officials held a crucial meeting that took place last month in which they addressed the need for the Kenyans, including those detained in various military camps across the Russian Federation, to be facilitated to reach Kenya's mission in Moscow, from where it will be easier for the government to organize their shipment back home. The Russian ministry acknowledged the difficulties of dealing with the matter that cuts across many countries, with victims of different nationalities being held up for military operations. The affected persons enter into voluntary contracts with their recruiters. Furthermore, the system has been made complicated by the agents who masquerade as working with the Russian government and using unscrupulous methods, including falsified information, to lure innocent Kenyans into the battlefield. Kenya has expressed concerns that its young citizens continue to be lured by such corrupt and ruthless agents to travel to Russia and unknowingly find themselves in their military operation. And so they say that they have reached an agreement that those being held without their consent should be released to Kenya's mission in Moscow with immediate effect. The embassy will continue to be in contact where possible with the others and facilitate those who manage to get out of the camps and wish to return home. So several things that I hear here. What do you hear?
Nasikia language kubwa kubwa, like nice will facilitate. We're getting them to our embassy. What did you call it in Moscow?
Yep.
Yeah, we will, we shall, we na. I'm not hearing anything structural. They're saying they're being duped by people who are posing as being part of the either Russian government and things like that, which is fair. But what are we doing to A, stop people being duped, B, to stop also, to get even the ones who may not be reported, because there could be other Kenyans that we're just not aware of. There probably are, to be quite honest. So yeah, what's the preventive measure? That's what I'm not hearing. I'm hearing, okay, we'll get them to the embassy, we'll get them back home. These ones, sawa. We're from a preventive measure, Sijui, Sielewi.
Yeah, not much. They say in order to curb malpractice that risks the lives of Kenyans, the government is urging the immigration and security agencies to be extra vigilant at the border points, particularly at the airports, to help identify and arrest the agents that are illegally drafting Kenyans into conflicts abroad.
But the agent won't be at the airport unless amekuja kukushika mkono to make sure you get on the plane.
Yeah, I think it's at the point of an immigration asking you those questions of, Mariam, here you are, you're presenting a passport, you're presenting where exactly are you going, what are you going to do? So when somebody starts saying, I'm going to work, so show me the letter of employment, scrutinize that, is this a licensed agent? So it's basically saying, take more work there. But that's at the point of leaving. Maybe at that point you've already paid in some money.
Yeah.
I keep coming back to say, public service announcements. We should be having these messages on billboards and radio, on TV every day, just telling Kenyans, be careful with whoever is advertising for a job outside the country.
Yes.
This is how you verify that this is a licensed agent. This is how you verify that this job actually exists. Provide all that information so that people are more aware.
Dial *10#.
Yes.
And then weka the name of your employment agency.
And it
tells you. Something like that.
Yes.
You're absolutely right. Looking at some of the comments, and I want to also look at best case scenarios, because it might seem a bit mad that we're asking the government to do all of this, but governments do this for their citizens all the time. It is not a favor, Sana, that we're asking for. It is part of the work of government. But let's look at some of the comments online before we look at best case scenarios of how countries take care of their people abroad. So Gikonyo Lea on YouTube says, woo, literally human slave trading. Kwanza, the agents don't care once you land to the Gulf countries. I thank God my sister safely came home from Iraq. They literally starved her. That's Gikonyo, I'm so sorry, and I'm happy your sister is doing a lot better now. That's really good to hear. Charles Ndongo says, our shambolic system, from the man sitting at the top to the bottom, is a clear indicator of who we are. It's not me and not a relation. If it's not me and not a relation of mine, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Which means when you're the one allowing these employment agencies to go, because si mtoto wangu, na si mimi, then it's okay, right? There's also someone saying, an attempt to kidnap a Ugandan, no. Harmonizing, no, this is on the PSC. But on this issue of specifically the movement to other countries, there has been a concerted effort by the government to have Kenyans go abroad, find work abroad. Then you can't have that and not in tandem strengthen the systems that protect Kenyans abroad. Because then it sounds like, first of all, even the push is already, it's already controversial to me, because people should leave willingly. They should be like, I found greener pastures, not almost like someone is edging you out of your own home. Like, end of kazi. It should be, I want to go study, I found a job, I found a partner.
Advertise the jobs, let someone, create an employment.
Yes.
Create awareness of the employment opportunities. But those employment opportunities, and I think I insist on this, it should be from, first of all, signing bilateral labor agreements with those countries.
Yes.
And saying, these are the countries that we have a bilateral labor agreement with. We have one with the UK, we have one with Germany, we have one with the UAE, we have one with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, we have one with Canada, we have one with, okay? Now, this are the kind of the cadre of jobs. This is what you get. This is how you get there. And should you choose? Now you make a choice whether you want to apply, and you apply and you go. And many of the times you'll actually see that it's people who have applied and they are making a choice to go.
Yeah.
But many are making that choice out of the distress of the current economic situation in the country. And therefore they fall prey to these rogue agents who are sending them abroad. That on the one side of the jobs. Then there's the other side of the Kenyans who are political activists, who are crossing over into neighboring countries and getting picked up and staying incommunicado, and the government of Kenya not appearing to do much to secure their release. They may be doing much, and that's why I'm saying not appearing to. Because as long as Bob Jage's wife and father have not heard from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs or from government official telling them this is what we know so far, this is what we are doing, and we shall keep updating you on what we know, and even going, because these are public arrests, also coming publicly and saying this is what we know about it, then you appear not to be doing anything.
Can I be honest? For me, the appearance of not doing anything is not doing anything, because diplomacy is not as secretive as we make it out to be. When there's communication and there's pushes, it is very visible. And let me use now the best case scenarios. This is a case we also of American basketball player Brittany Griner. That was in 2022. She was convicted of carrying cannabis into Russia, right? She went there with her team and had cannabis oil and was convicted, ended up in a Russian prison. That is not just, it is welfare beyond. It's not you were duped into... No, you committed a crime on foreign soil, admittedly. So there is no gaming of the system, there's no nothing. Still, her government lobbied incredibly. And I think we all saw the pushes by the US government to get her back home. They ended up doing, over, I think, 3 years, almost 3 years, they ended up doing a prisoner swap with Russia to secure the release of the basketball star. The US Secretary of State and the president were personally involved. And I think the pushes were consistent all through. The public messaging was very clear. The US also has a hostage affairs office that tracks and negotiates cases like those. But the fact that they immediately took ownership of the situation, they pushed consistently through diplomatic channels, ending up with a prisoner swap. What is valuable? My citizen is valuable to me. What is valuable to you? Your citizen. Okay, nipe wako nikupe, nipe wangu, unipe wako. And that was a good case. Again, the fact that she had been convicted of a crime. So that already shows you that the level of care is at a certain is quite high. Yes. There's several others, but I think that one always gets to me because you can see they have a policy called, I think they call it No Man Left Behind. Yes, no citizen left behind. No citizen left behind.
They'll try as much as possible to try and secure the person's release.
Right.
In several cases, in some cases, and this is just my observation and my just internal thinking, sometimes these governments will use you as leverage. Of course, they're playing politics. And so because they're playing politics, they hype up this story abroad and all, and they say, okay, so we want to secure, we use prisoner exchange to also settle some other deals that have been pending for a while. In some cases, you'll find that even Americans, if you watch the shows like Banged Up Abroad, you'll find the embassy will work as much as possible to try and, talk to you, try and facilitate your family members to talk to you. In some cases, they are not able to secure your release. I mean, you're arrested on drug-related charges, and there's a law in this country, so we cannot come and start forcing this government to release you. But we will try and facilitate so that your family can get to talk to you. You can talk to your family. You can update your family. Somebody from the embassy will come and visit you, you know, and so on and so forth. That just shows there's some level of care that is being taken.
Yeah.
In some cases, then you can see that it's political, and the government knows that you are a nuisance domestically, politically, and you're there, so it's a bit of a good riddance that you're not here at this particular point, so stay there. And so they're not taking any action. And that's the only way we can interpret it if we just look at some of these cases, the recent cases.
Yeah. I've said it before, it reeks of complicity. Because it's like you've said, it's almost like a good riddance. Someone is a problem to you within the borders. You see someone else take advantage of them. But unfortunately, that is not the way government works. You're a citizen of this country. The government has a duty of care for you, regardless of whether they find you to be a nuisance, to be a thorn in the flesh. That is not how it works. But you're right, there's no other way to interpret like the laissez-faire way in which the time it took, for example, for the Diaspora Affairs to put out a statement with regards to Boniface Mwangi, and now with Bob Njagi, when you're saying we're liaising with the High Commission, no, we're seeking to liaise. We're not liaising, we're seeking to liaise with the come on. Those are Kenyan citizens abroad that need their government vouching for them, pushing for them. Kenyans online can only do so much. At some point, we need things to happen. And you could say that there's things happening behind the curtains. I don't think so. Because when diplomatic efforts are being pushed, you can see them very clearly. There might be those very serious, things that are hush-hush, but for the most part, you'll be able to see it on a public level.
Indeed. So I think I come back into, you may see that in our Kenyan missions, there will be officers who really, really want to support. Facilitation is one, maybe challenge that they face. But here locally, it should be a government policy that if now we have this Kazi Maju program, and you have clearly seen that there are very many rogue agents, and you have an entity that is licensing and regulating how Kenyans are accessing jobs abroad and how they are leaving the country and living in those countries, then the basic thing that you could do is have a lot of awareness creation.
Right.
Just those things that you warn people that these are rogue agents exist. And when you flag and you establish that there's a rogue agent that is duping and luring Kenyans abroad, you take action, public action on such. Shut them down, publicly take them through the court process, and let them face the consequences of the law, because that is breaking the law.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't see any of that, somebody in Kimana will not know that, there's a rogue agent. This person who's recruiting people here is a rogue agent. And there's a way I could have found out. So they just hear their jobs abroad. Yes, Mariam went, and she actually went to, to somewhere in the Middle East.
Right.
And you see, she started sending money back home. Okay. So this is the same agent that's sending other people. Yeah. How much do I need to pay? 250,000 shillings.
Right.
Go sell something, raise 250K, pay this person. You end up there, then you realize that what they were selling here and what you find on the other end is totally different. All as the government is sitting back and watching and swiveling at their chairs like this.
Waiting for the foreign exchange remittances.
Wait, ati kuna watu wengine wanaenda ngambo. Hey, wanatumia agent gani huyo? No, your agency tuambie ni mabaya your agent. Because that's a thinking I'm just seeing here with our National Employment Authority, the Ministry of Labor, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They just sit back and like,
unaenda wapi?
Lakini unajua, I mean, there are very many people who have gone and they're doing good jobs.
Of course.
There's few people here, hao ndio wanapatia jina baya. Now, how do they go, even them? Mtu hawezi angalia kazi.
So you become, the blame is back.
It's you.
Yeah, it's back on you. And again, those are case-by-case examples, the ones I've given, of governments pushing for their people, but especially in cases of now, they need repatriation in one or the other. But like you said, there could be bilateral agreements and labor agreements that govern how Kenyans move in other countries. So it doesn't just have to be we're hoping for the goodwill of the other nation No, it's structures and policies put in place. Again, best case scenario is the Philippines. They set even a minimum wage for Filipino workers abroad, meaning hawezi enda tu mahali na ulipwe whatever, right? So this means for this job level, this is the minimum wage at home, this is the minimum wage abroad. Wherever you're going, as long as we know that you're going, you will be paid this much. Fine. We also have work hours, stipulations for work hours and work conditions and such for repatriation. And then you find that now they are able to have more citizens work abroad in fairer conditions. And that's why, like I said, you will see a lot of Filipinos working in the Gulf countries, but they are not working in the same conditions as perhaps a Kenyan.
They're not. Theirs is a proper, it's government structured, it's government sanctioned, and the government knows who is where.
Who is where? Doing
and
what?
They also know that in the event of a distress, there's a fund that will help you, repatriation, and a fund that will help you in rehabilitation. Because yes, imagine you've been rescued from that job abroad, and whatever happened, and you've come back home. Now you're starting from square one again. So in the Philippines, you come back home, there's actually a fund that is in place, a government fund that supports you in your resettling and rehabilitation. You're back home. Where do you begin? Where do you move?
Best case scenario.
And our guys here, do they know? Of course they do. They do. They have all these documents. They have access to the Filipino embassy here, or our Kenyan embassy in the Philippines, and the government. They borrowing best case, just telling Abutipatie manuscript tuone.
To copy paste.
To just copy paste.
Nimeandikwa Philippines.
Put Kenya.
Rub up andike Kenya. Thinking through actual fixes for how to how to get Bob Njagi and Nicholas Oyo home. Let me start with this, moving back, right? We've seen the Ugandan courts deny that they have them in, the Ugandan court threw out a petition, actually. It was meant to be a habeas corpus, which is basically produce these people dead or alive. The Ugandan court threw out the petition. Ugandan security agencies have also said we don't have them in custody. What next? What would a best case scenario diplomatically look like? I think it is one for our security agencies and our Ministry of Foreign Affairs to continue putting pressure. You're saying they are not at any police station, right? They were last seen here. Their phones went off here. What are you as the Ugandan government doing to investigate and to follow up? Treat this as a case of missing persons in Uganda. If you're saying they're not in police custody, treat them as missing persons in Uganda. They are East African citizens who went missing in your country. What have you done to trace them? Simu zao mmefuata. They were last at what location? Kuna sisi, like basics. That kind of pressure. But I don't see any of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an obvious thing. You imagine if a senior government official went missing in Uganda. Okay?
Yeah.
He was not in the hands of the military, he's not in the hands of the police. But a Kenyan, say, member of the National Assembly, a cabinet secretary, a principal secretary, a speaker of the National Assembly or the Senate has gone missing in Uganda. The government of Kenya would be in Uganda.
Right now.
Working with the government of Uganda to look for this person and trying to establish exactly where are they. Right? And it will be a national issue here where our embassy, in fact, not even our embassy, our minister himself, the CS, would be giving updates. This is what we know so far. This is what the ministry, the Interior Ministry of Uganda is telling us. Kipchumba would be here, flanked by, Musalia Mudavadi and others. This is what we know about the whereabouts. Okay? Now, this is just an ordinary guy called Bob Njagi. Okay? We operate like... see, the police in Uganda have said they don't have him.
Sounds like to do.
So, see, the military have also said they don't have him. So now we wait for them to tell us where he is.
Again.
We can't operate like that. Sure.
Reeks of complicity. Reeks of complicity.
They know. The government of Kenya knows where Bob Njagi is. The government of Kenya knows where Bob Njagi is. If they don't know, then this government of Kenya does not have business being government.
I agree.
It's as simple as that. Then the other side is whenever such incidences happen, that somebody is picked up, a Tanzanian is picked up on Chaka Road in Nairobi, okay, and just suddenly goes missing.
Right.
And the government of Kenya appears not to be picked up. A Ugandan national is picked up in Kilimani in Nairobi, and the government of Kenya,
Bessie who? What's his name? Bessie. We don't know that. We don't have that one.
An Ethiopian national is picked up on the streets of Nairobi. Government of Kenya, Ati?
We're not familiar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How would we trust the government if these are the kind of things that the government does?
Right.
If the government does not buy the trust of the people, then the people will not trust the government. It just goes like that.
You're right.
For us to be able to trust our government, then our government has got to show that it's trustworthy.
I agree.
Trust it with the information that it has already. Trust it that it will come to your rescue when you're in distress. Trust that it will offer you support when you need support and assistance.
Yeah.
That it doesn't matter how lowly in the society you are, you matter to the government of the Republic of Kenya. Whether you're the lowest of the lowly or you're the highest, you are all equal citizens of the Republic of Kenya. But this government has shown us time and again that if you're senior, then you belong to Kenya. If you're junior, then you are a visitor to Kenya.
Otherwise.
You are the otherwise.
You're the otherwise. The intrusive thought that I think is out there, I don't know, for me it's almost clear as day. You've mentioned how many foreign nationals have been picked up in, especially in Nairobi and in Kenya as a whole, right? And they go missing. Sometimes they show up back in their home countries mysteriously, you know, as if they teleported. And now Kenya nationals going missing in foreign countries, in Tanzania, in Uganda, abducted, tortured, sodomized, etc. You can't help but thread the line there, which is these are people who are considered to be problems, like you said, a thorn in the flesh for their countries. So when they go outside, the government of the day does not have the responsibility. They're not the bad guy anymore. It's almost as if, you fix my problem, I'll fix yours. Because if the government of the day were to do anything aggressive to these people, they become martyrs and they become, you know, larger than life. But if it happens in a neighboring country, then you have plausible deniability. And it's hard not to see that as what's happening. Really hard. You would have to be...
Completely. Like Kikombe is saying, the absolute role and responsibility of the government is to protect its citizens wherever they are. That's why we pay tax. Na sio kuomba, na sio tafadhali. Eden Hazard says, why do you lay most of the blame to the Kenyan government but not to the Ugandan authorities?
Museveni is not my president.
Exactly. We don't pay taxes to Uganda. And these are Kenyan citizens, all right? Then Emmanuel Templar had said, the military in Uganda had kidnapped an MP at a gas station this year, and after days of public outcry, the bosses announced that they had him and they were teaching him some good manners. That's the environment that Kenyan activists walked into. My advice is Kenyan activists should not travel to neighboring countries to do the activism there, because the government of Kenya is coordinating with those other governments and would gladly alert them that they're heading there. See?
Yeah.
Another distrust in government. They're like, serikali yetu ndio inatuuza.
How else would you read into it, honestly? How else would you read into it?
Tumeuzwa na serikali yetu. Yeah. Charles Ndungu, Kenyans, we really need to get mad about Nicholas Oyo and Bob Njagi. The government has proven it's not going to act without pressure from us, right? Without pressure, this government is not acting. It appears it will not. If you look at what the Lonias is saying, the catch-22 here is that even at home, regulations on working conditions need improvement. I agree that, you know, we need improvement even in working conditions at home, especially for domestic workers. You know, even in this country, a lot of work needs to be done on that. But Gikonyo says the agents and the government officials are all in on it. That's my point. How can people just be gone, not trace? Kwani hakuna mtu aliona, no any process for them to go out?
Oh, yeah.
How does someone just live like that?
Disappear.
Yeah.
Right.
So, tufunge hapo. Tukafunge.
It's been an amazing show as always. Thank you so much, Fixers, for spending the entire morning with us. Tumeongea mambo ya crypto, tunazita virtual assets, because currency ina compete na Kenya shillings. Ndio?
Yep.
Yeah, that was lesson number 1 of today. But of course, a big thank you to Alan Kakai, to Francis Major as well, to you, the Fixer, for doing your bit in fixing the nation. Of course, we continue the conversation tomorrow, 6 to 10 a.m. Latif, what are we doing on the last word tonight?
The last word tonight is about political parties and whether ODM is going to survive beyond the legacy of Raila Odinga. Jackso, we're crossing over into a live transmission. What do we have, Jackso? Okay, let's just cross over. We'll find out shortly. See you tomorrow.
The Climate Investment.
It's a Climate Investment Summit. Ah, there you go. Okay.